Bonjour à tous, c'est moi, Patsy Unique P, et bienvenue sur ma chaîne pour une autre vidéo. If you're new here, I create black fashion, lifestyle, and a little bit of travel content. If you haven't already, give your girl a thumbs up, like, share, and bien sûr, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment as well. Aujourd'hui video is a voiceover vlog of my last visit to Paris, where I'll be taking you on my journey of visiting a few parks and walking around a few interesting sites. So if this is something you're interested in, la première étape de ma visite est le Parc de Bagatelle. The Parc de Bagatelle is situated at the heart of the Bois de Boulogne. This is one of the city of Paris's many botanical gardens, and it is affectionately known as Parc de Rosary, as rose plants in all varieties are the main botanic in the garden, as well as tulips. Created in 1775, the park and its chateau were built in 64 days after a wager between Queen Marie Antoinette and her brother-in-law, the Count of Artois, who bought the estate in 1775 and took it upon himself to build a park worthy of court celebrations of the time in less than 100 days, all because he had made a bet for a tidy sum of £100,000. I learned about this park from another YouTuber, and I knew it had to be on my list of places to visit. I was not fortunate to see the roses in full bloom, but I got to experience the whole atmosphere and see the tulips in their bloom. I had such a fun time spending my day in this park, picnicking, running around with the peacocks, and taking in the awe of how the caretakers took pride in taking care of the grounds. It was an awesome day. Our next stop is Parc de Bercy. Its history goes back several centuries to a time when Paris still had large vineyards. Originally owned by the Bishopric of Paris, the French crown acquired the property around the 11th century, and in the 17th century, the first royal wine warehouse was built here by the order of King Louis XIV. The warehouses were in use for more than 300 years until they finally closed in the 1950s. The site stood derelict for decades until revitalization of the area started in the 1980s, culminating in the creation of a new park that opened in phases from 1994 to 1995. During the creation of the park, several elements from the historic site were retained, including paved paths and the railway tracks that were used to transport wine from the riverbanks to the winery. Stately trees, oak chestnut, and the 18th century Mansion du Jardinage or garden house were maintained. I first visited the park during the pandemic and I fell in love with the beautiful garden, as not only did they maintain the growing of the vineyard, but they also have a beautiful herb garden that I envied, and it inspired me to work on my own garden at home. Ever since then, it is one of my stops every trip. Allons-y. Our next stop is Etrat, Normandy. An old legend says that the village was founded following a Viking invasion. Etrat's fame was settled in the 19th century when, from a fishing village, it quickly became a fashionable seaside resort. Little by little, the traditional activity of fishing was substituted for tourism. Visiting Etrat was not on my schedule, but boy, was I glad that I got the opportunity to see this remarkable landscape. Getting there was a bit of a drive, but well worth every minute. The highlight of the trip for me was walking up the cliff to see the tiny chapel where people actually went to worship, and they ensured that this building remains maintained. Talk about appreciating your history. Now we make our way to our next stop, the Palais Royal. The Palais Royal was built in 1639 for Cardinal Richelieu, who was the chief minister to Louis XIII. After Richelieu died, the building was passed to the king, and many members of the French royal family lived in the palace over the next centuries. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to experience what I see on TV. So after seeing Emily in Paris, which I coincidentally saw while I was in Paris during the pandemic, you know I had to go for a visit. And all I could say is, Peace Be Still. This is a place where people go to take their lunch, relax with a good book, and connect with their inner thoughts. And I am grateful to have had the opportunity to enjoy this place. Next stop is the Louvre. The Louvre began as a fortress of thick defensive walls built in 1119 during the reign of Philip August. It became a royal residence in 1364 and was modified over the centuries according to the changing styles and royal preferences. Grand Gallery was built between 1595 and 1610 during the reign of Henry IV. Funny story, I have not had the opportunity to visit the actual artifacts in the Louvre, but I have walked around the exterior and interior where you could see this beautiful wall and the base of the pyramid, which is just as interesting as visiting the interior, in my opinion. And now our final stop, the Hanami Cherry Blossom Festival in the Parc de Sceaux. Hanami meaning cherry blossom viewing, which is a true tradition in Japan, is quickly becoming a custom in France. During this ritual, many people gather with friends or family to contemplate the cherry blossom and celebrate spring. It is a moment that Japanese people look forward to, and in France, several events are now organized inviting the most curious to come and contemplate the blossoming of the cherry trees around various animation, putting Japanese culture in the spotlight. In the Parc des Sceaux, there is a special garden which was created for the cherry blossom trees, and I always wanted to see it in bloom. And this year I had the opportunity to experience it. Saying I was amazed is an understatement, and how beautiful these trees are. There is an old saying which goes, seeing is believing. And boy, do I believe that there are some things you must experience in life, and this is definitely one. Hi guys, so I am back from Paris. Wasn't that just an amazing journey through the parks of Paris and the beautiful sights? I would like to encourage anyone who has the opportunity to see this video to take a trip, even if it's only one time. There's a whole world out there waiting for you to come and explore it. And I think it is in everyone's best interest to travel and see what's outside of their comfort zone. So don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know which park was your favorite. And thank you for spending your time with me again this week. So until next time, au revoir, à bientôt.